Eh? Dan here, DD Speed Shop. So, well, we're back on the Healey. It's the plan today. Now, we had this thing just kind of sitting together, see what it kind of be like with a small block in it. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I'm going to spend the money and get a bit of a rowdy little small block with a 4-speed. Should be kind of cool. Since we were last going, I haven't done a whole lot. I did get a set of these kind of junky headers, but they were the right price. Actually, they came with a bunch of pipe, and someone stole the pipe, so that was awesome. Man, I still live in a rough area, I guess. So I'm thinking we may try and modify, this won't be today, but the idea is to modify this. If we can have the flange come out the side and tuck around there, we could probably make ourselves some cool little side pipes. But the project for today, sand blasting. So we're gonna take this whole front end apart. Now, a few people put messages saying, well, why'd you put it all together if you're just going to take it apart again? Well, I want to see what it's going to look like and if this is exactly what we're going to do. At one point, I was toying with the idea of doing a straight axle or something like that, but I think this is the smart move to build this thing streetable, but on the rowdy side. But anyways, we're going to end up taking apart all the suspension that we just put on, break it all apart, and then, start taking off ball joints, all that sort of stuff. So that should be fun. Now, honestly, we actually do have a whole second set of stuff over here, so maybe I'll just work on this. I haven't quite decided what the best course of action will be. But anyways, that's that. I'll make that choice and you'll get to see it. The next thing, the main reason we're back here is because this showed up. Speedway brake kit. Now this is Mustang 2 spindle, but it upgrades to an 11-inch 5 lug. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We did Chevy because that's what I like to do. This was, it was on sale for $369 American, so it was a little over $500 by the time I got it. So that's rotors, calipers, brakes, bearings, lines, all that sort of stuff. Now, we could have rebuilt this stuff. But the thing is, look how puny these are. These are 9-inch rotors. So by the time you'd upgrade this, they did make a 5 lug. We could have got, would have been Ford. We would have had a 9-inch 5 lug Ford. We'd probably put new calipers on, new pads, new rotors, new. And even at the end of the day, it's still gonna be a 9-inch rotor, which I think would just look goofy. And I mean, even though I priced out through Rock Auto and stuff, which would be on the cheaper side, it was still like most of the way towards that new kit, which I think is probably money well spent. While I was on Rock Auto, though, I did order new everything. So we have upper, lower ball joints, bushings all the way around. The strut rods aren't there, bushings on that as well. Inner and outer tie rod ends, that's all inside. So really, we break this all apart, blast it, paint it, put all new hardware in. We're gonna keep the same springs. Then we can hang the disc brakes on. I think it'd be pretty good. I did not order shocks. I probably should have. But hey, that's another video, right? The other thing that came in the mail yesterday or today, I bought a universal rear suspension kit. So this is a make your own 4-link, came with some tabs, came with some bar and hardware, and ultimately just some little slugs that we'll end up putting in there, welding, and then we have Heims, a bunch of Heims. Now, everyone kept telling me put an 8.8 in this thing, and you're not wrong, but there is a lot of fabrication. So this was built kind of before the 8.8 was a real thing. Now the main situation, because I Googled it, I thought I just used Mustang 2 stuff on an 8.8 rear end. Well, an 8.8 rear end is wide, you can narrow it, I get it. I didn't want to go through the expense when I already have the rear end here ready to go. All I gotta do is put some brakes on it. The amount of distance from here to here was something ridiculously small, 18 inches or 16 inches. And when I looked at what a Mustang 2 was, it was 6 inches longer or something along those lines. So I think that is the issue maybe. I could be wrong, but ultimately we're gonna build our own suspension, something I've never done before, and I'd like to try it out. So we're gonna build ourselves, use the existing tabs, build a triangulated 4-link, and I think we could run coilovers if we want. That's what this is for. Or no, sorry, just regular coil springs. Chevette, I think it was. and a shock, or we could weld a bar across, something pretty heavy duty, and run out just a coil over shock, which would be kind of trick as well. So that's what's happening. Again, not today, but there you go. Parts are in, and now we have lots of stuff to do. So I think getting this thing all together as a roller, and then with the rear end, the penny boys are drilling out the axles. I should be able to have that 5 lug as well, hopefully in the next week or so, maybe the next video or two. And then we could have this thing on a set of American style wheels. Bolt all the, well, I nut and bolted that on with a set of vice grips, but have it all sit together and then decide where we're going to go with it. Huh? Let's get to work. So this hot rod came with 2 sets of front suspension. This one was actually, well, it was on that cross member there. We took it apart. The only reason I really actually used this was it had a coil spring in it, and all these other bits didn't have a spring. So I needed a spring no matter what. So I had to apart no matter what. So we thought we'd just put it all together. These ones here, I was actually playing with my sandblaster. So they still need to be done. But they're already kind of started. The nice thing about these have had ball joints put in them. They're bolt-in ones, which is much less screwing around. These ones are all factory, so they're riveted. Not that it's the end of the world, but these ones are easier. So I'm just here set up to take out all the bushings. So I mean, they're a little sacked out. This one we already just took out. Basically you hammer it with the air hammer, kind of collapse a little bit and force its way out. They're pressed in. Yeah, it's got like a little, I mean, it doesn't show up, but that's a little step on it. So this part goes in pretty easy, then it steps up and binds its way in there. The uppers, probably a pretty similar style of thing. We'll have to break, oof, they're a little rusty. Got to break the centerpiece out of them, but we should be able to get those out no problem. Then same thing, press new ones in. So we'll set the camera up and start stripping these down. Should be pretty good. And then we might just take the front end apart so we get the coil springs out. Everything's gonna be sandblasted, painted, and put back together. So here comes the time-consuming, unfun part. Danny's out here bothering me. So we got all the suspension broken down, kind of ready to go. Unfortunately, because Danny's doing her thing on the internet, talking to her 3 friends, I can't run the compressor and sandblast these right now. So instead,
there's more than 3 friends.
Good for you. We're gonna go ahead and attempt fate again. Man, people were panicked about my 1/2-inch all-thread rod blowing apart and killing us, but I think it's perfectly strong. So we're gonna collapse it. I already got the tie rod off. We'll break these down, take this whole mess apart. I think I'll leave the rack on the car. It's a good rack. I like myself a good rack. Leave it on alone. And then I don't know what we're gonna do after this. So I can't make any noise because Danny's, well, she's an internet celebrity. Let's get after it. It's actually the next day. We were well, Danny was chatting with her friends online. What else can you do? I can't make a bunch of noise. You gotta have the compressor wailing away to keep up with this. But we got this El Cheapo blast cabinet, done a few mods to it, but it seems to work out pretty good. So we're just trying to get them. I mean, I'll do these ones a little bit better, but honestly, not much more than that. We'll get where the ball joint was, and we'll get in there just a little, make them look nice. Put a coat of black on it. For the crossbars, I take the threads. I don't know if you can sandblast threads or not, but I thought we'll be on the safe side and not do that, because I'd rather not take the other stuff all apart for no reason. And the springs, we'll give them a quick once over. They don't got to be perfect. So let's get after it. We'll get these things blasted, painted, then you got to dry. Then we'll start assembling them. Well, a few hours later, everything is, dry to the touch, but still soft. So we'll go ahead and butcher those together and press all the bushings in. But yeah, I had semi-gloss paint in stock, so that's what we used. We're gonna end up pulling the old press out, I think, to put everything in. I went through all my Rock Auto boxes. Should have done this before, but I think I have everything I need. So we have upper, lower ball joints. Obviously, there's bolt in, so that'll be nice and easy. 2 of those each. These are the little strut rod bushing kind of kit. We have that. These are your lower control arm bushings, upper control arm bushings, steering stuff. So these are the steering in the rack itself. There's one bushing there and one that's actually missing, so that'll get pressed in there. These look like they're just rubber. They probably go in pretty easy, I'm hoping. Yeah, maybe there's something in there. Outer tie rods, inner tie rods, and a set of boots. So we have everything to rebuild the front end, hang it all together, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll slap on the brakes. We'll see. I think that should be a pretty simple kit. I might as well do that, at least make it a roller. I will have to take, I don't know if we'll do the rack or not today, because that could be done kind of anytime. Because it needs to be kind of cleaned up and stuff. I didn't really want to run this in the sandblaster. I figure probably you don't want a bunch of grit in there. So it seems like it works pretty good. It's a manual setup. There was a power steering unit in there as well, and there was a little thing in the kit saying you could modify a power steering to a manual, but we'll do this. These Mustang 2 front ends are pretty darty as it is, but a manual rack seems like the way to go. So let's get set up. I'll pull the press out probably. Well, see if we can put it in the vise. I don't know if we'll have enough room, but we'll make something happen. Okay, so we got the one bushing and attachment. Not too bad. Now, I always find bushings is the most pain in the butt part of rebuilding front ends, but whatever. So, pretty simple. You just want to press this in. Now it has a step, just on the one side. So it's going to be forced in there, which you think, okay, I'll just jam this in the vise or do whatever. Well, there's a couple of things. So you want to press on the steel sleeve, not the center bit. So, man, this socket, I think I stole off Murr, I don't know how long ago. I don't think I've ever used it, other than I keep it on the press. So what this is going to do is it's going to fit in there, and it has a little bit of wiggle room, but it runs around the rim. So we're pushing on the bushing itself. Now the real crappy part, so you're like, okay, I'll just push that on there, push it through. Well, you need something on the other side so to push through. So my vise is not big enough, but that's what we're working with. So it becomes kind of large. If you have like maybe an 8-inch or something like that vise, you can do that. I think mine's just 5. But anyway, so we're gonna use the press. Now, that's all fine and good. The problem is when you start pressing on this, because these are like stamped steel garbage, this will actually go together. So you could put like a little cup or do something in there, or yet another socket and jam it in there. So let's get ahead and get this thing started. I like to spray a little spray lube on it. I don't know if it makes any difference or not, but it makes me feel better about myself. So we'll get this thing situated in there. Oh yeah, I guess we should lift it up because I just had one done. Now this is, you gotta be careful with hydraulics. There's a lot of pressure in here, so it doesn't go good. Be aware and reevaluate. So we got this started real quick. I can put this away where you guys can see it. There's a lot going on here. We don't have our full crew on. It's just me like usual. Okay, gentle, gentle. Now when you want to get it started, I'll make sure everything's kind of squared up a little bit. So it's pushing straight down. Okay, that's good. Now this socket happens to be basically a perfect size, but it's a friction fit, so we're gonna start where it's a little bigger. It'll knock into place. Now, that'll prevent, so that socket's preventing it. Oh, it's actually got no load on it yet, but it will as we go in. You kind of feel it go in. It goes in decent. There you go. So now that's now holding the two sections of the controller apart. Now every pump, you see how it kind of just goes down nice and easy. If it's not doing that, what it will actually do is it will fold the ears of that bushing. No bones about it. Give it a little, should be pretty good. Loosen this off. Gentle. Got a lot going on here. That. We need a hammer for that. Put there, oh, right in my boot. So there we go. It's nicely in there. We're golden. Now, all we gotta do is bolt in the ball joint, that's the easy part. Maybe a little spritz of paint in a few spots there. The uppers, whole other situation, but I'll show you those right away. Upper control arm time. These are a bit of a pain, but well, it's the way she's gonna go. Where did I put that crossbar shaft? Here it is. So I believe these are the same side to side. They look the same. I check them to the stuff I have, they look the same. And when I look at Speedway, they sell them individually with the same part number. So I'll assume it's good. Now, this cross shaft, you look at it, it's gonna have a straight edge. Now that you want it to be going downwards. Now, we're gonna put these in. The first bushing you can put in without the cross shaft in. But the second one, we're gonna get the cross shaft in and then push the bushing around it. Now we're gonna probably run into the same issue we did on the lower control arm, where this is gonna wanna fold itself in, so we may have to build a bar. We'll see just how easy it goes together. But I'm gonna show you this one. I think we should be able to do on the vise. At least get started on the vise. So, same thing, get this kinda in there. Gentle. Get our socket. Oh, it's bigger. We need to use this piece. Yeah, that'll work. So just whatever you have lying around is the key. So we're gonna use this one backwards and have the socket catch it. Get it started. Now again, once you get started, you wanna make sure she's gonna go in square. Is that good? There we go. Okay. Oh, man, this is a hard press. How far do these go in? Oh, they ain't going that far. I guess I have it in all the way. So go until it stops. Oh, that shit wasn't too bad. Take this. Oh, it's now jammed around. That's awesome. I'll have to knock that off with a hammer, but there you are, installed. And that's, I guess, how it's done. Let me get this off real quick. Yeah, I guess that's it. So you go install it. Now, like I said, when we put this cross shaft in, we now have we're going to have to put the other bushing on, and as you press around it, we can't have whatever I use on the socket, the backside, to clamp it or hold it. So it may want to fold this whole thing in half. So we're going to see if we can get lucky and just put it in the press, see what we can do. I may have to find another piece to press with, but we'll find something. Okay, so we've got ourselves a concoction of miscellaneous. This is I think it may actually be a ball joint press or a little kit there I have. So we're gonna try and get this as close as we can for straight up and down wise. We're pressing on the other bushing and the top bushing, so we're just gonna try and go together. I do have a feeling this is gonna try and collapse itself, but maybe we'll be lucky. No, we're not lucky. So, might not show on camera, but it's just folding itself in. So, we're gonna have to build a piece from here to here. We'll have to get some sort of a, yeah, you can see that, how it expanded like a spring. So we'll get a tape, and I'll just get a piece of, I don't know if I have some round bar, or just anything to put between there to hold it. We'll press it together. I do have one I built for Tri-5 Chevy. If it's the same length, we might get lucky. Back at her. So this is just a piece of square tube I had. I cut the end off of it and cut it to, I believe, the right length. Pretty close. Okay, we'll see. I might want to straighten this out a little. See what happens. So doing that, let's go crooked, let the re-rig. Okay. There we go. So the bushing was just a little kind of crooked. What we got going on here? Okay, I think that's all she wrote. Oh yeah, so this one I actually went a little on the hard side. You see how it started to fold itself over. There we go, she's in. Cross shaft's in. We have a piece now for Mustang 2 front ends. You have yourself a rebushinged control arm. Now some guys, if these get all wore out, they'll put a couple of tack welds just to kind of hold it in there, but I think we're fine. Cross shaft can move over a little bit, but it's no big deal. So, get the other one done, bolt in some ball joints, start hanging on the car again. Saved you a bit of the boringness. We just bolted in some ball joints, top and bottom, super easy. These obviously just go on with a couple of nuts and bolts. I took the spindles all apart and painted them because they were needed. I actually, honestly, I totally forgot I was going to need those, something like that. And it had some spindles, kind of loose and separate, but they've been sitting down there a little rusty at where the race is going to sit. So I thought, we'll take it all apart, we'll keep some stuff, put all that back together as spares. But man, like, backing plate, junky stuff. It's probably garbage. I don't think we're using any of that, I hope, but we do have a complete set, so if we need some nuts and bolts, sometimes those disc brake kits require a little bit of stuff, but I guess we'll see. So all that's left now, spring in, clamp it together with some all thread. She's a little bendy. Hopefully it won't blow apart, but we'll get that together and then we'll have ourselves a brand new front end, and then I think, I haven't even looked at those discs or nothing yet, but I'm sure it's probably, pack the bearings, there's probably some sort of a bracket that'll bolt to some sort of existing hole, which will then be able to put on, I assume probably something like a Chevy or something like that, single piston caliper, some very simple setup. We can bang that on there, and then this thing is dialed, and then all we got left is steering. Alrighty, so we got the spring in, very simple. There's just, all you have to do is line up the tail, the lower control arm, and then the upper part of the spring is flat. So let's see if we can go ahead and crank this sucker into place without exploding. Guess I should take the nut off the lower control arm. So everything is free and easy, which is actually nice because usually when you're taking it all apart, everything's all stiff and tight and all that, so it should go together very easily. Whoa. And this lift, I tell you, working at like a comfortable height, I recommend everybody go get something for home. All right, a little more. Oh, no big deal. A little sketchy. All threads caught on the lower control arm, just a scotch. There, come on. There we go. Line her up. This is always the scary part. There we go. One more time on the other side. We got ourselves a rebuilt front end. All right, so it's a new day. We left it. The front was mostly together. Now, I did jump ahead and I put this there. Man, does that ever look good, eh? Not gonna lie, I put it together because all these little kits, there's little things you gotta kind of learn about it. I like just kind of do it by myself, and then I'll show you how to do the second one. There was two things I didn't like about this. Oh, the dust cap it gave was wrong. I'll show you that, didn't fit. And, oh, it needed a little washer to get everything tightened up on the wheel bearing. Otherwise, pretty good kit. I mean, I can't complain. It's a little different and probably my own thing. So I wanted GM bolt pattern. So I believe this is all just kind of G-body, your generic-y type stuff. But, so what it is, a GM rotor, and it has GM races. So you have to pound out the races, and it gives you a set of races. So you got to pound those in, and then it gives you a seal, which had no part number on it. And the instructions say if you screw it up, you can't just go buy this. Well, there's a number on the inside. You have to go right to Speedway. So I guess we'll see. And there is a bracket, which very simply bolts on, gives you all the hardware. I believe it just gives you a GM, come on, bear with me, a GM cap, and this is the Ford one that I end up using, so it's a little smaller. But now I'm a sandblasting guy. We'll get this cleaned up, blasted, put it all together. So step one, we're gonna knock the races out of this. Knock the new ones in. I just use a plethora of sockets wherever I had to knock it in. I'm sure there's like a seal driving kit and all that stuff, but we have this. So that's what we're using, and a messy workbench, man. I gotta clean up in here, but jeez, I wanna get this finished. Then I'll clean up for the next video. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna struggle by knocking out these races. Where's my hammer? All kinds of different ways people do this. You can use, you know, air hammer or weld it and stuff, but I have a flathead screwdriver and a hammer in my hand, so that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so we bang the races out, put them away so you don't get them confused. There's our new one. I used to use kind of some miscellaneous stuff that kind of lines up on the outside rim. So we'll get this kind of started a little bit. Okay, now as you knock it in, you'll be able to hear it. The sound will just change when it bottoms. So you can see we're going in nice and square. You can kind of see, I've got just a little bit more to go, but it'll bottom out. There you go. Sounded different. We're in the whole way. Flip ski. Same thing, we have no edges there to worry about. So if you're knocking it out and you got an edge on there, you're gonna have a problem. This one, what would I use? No. This. So you gotta make sure when you're pounding it in, you want something that'll fit in the hole and square up on the race nicely. Not too bad. So we're going in flush. You don't want to go in crooked. So take your time. Yeah, we're good there. Boom, we're in. Let's pack bearings. So I'm sure you guys have seen a bunch of ways to pack bearings. There's tools, there's all sorts of stuff. This is how Murr taught me many years ago, and that's what we're gonna carry to do. So get a little blob on your hand, slowly but surely work it all the way up into the bearing. There you go, as it starts gooshing out, that's the technical term. You give her a little turn over and keep doing this. So we're gonna bang out both bearings real quick here. We'll do that in time lapse. Okay, so now we have our little seal to put in, we have our bearing in all packed. This is where it wants you to be very careful when you're putting this in, so we're gonna go ahead and wing it. Again, they sell all sorts of drivers for this, but a hammer, whoops, will kind of do the same thing. If you just work it, so you get it all started. Work your way around. Voila. Let's slam this thing in the car. Okay, so we got the rotor on, and I'm just gonna show you. This is one little thing which, when you're using these aftermarket, universally type kits, you just gotta be aware of what you're doing. So the new kit comes with the nut and washer all together. There's very few threads in here. Now the factory used a washer followed by a nut, which you would tighten down, followed by this little kind of washer thing on top. So it would, and that's where your cotter pin would go through. And as you can see, if we put them side by side, there's quite a height difference. So when this one was all the way on and snug, like you turn the wheel and you snug your wheel bearing and loosen it off and do that whole procedure. When I put the cotter pin through the spindle, where it's drilled to obviously lock this nut in, the nut could still spin. So we could use the old stuff instead. I just used the one washer. So I don't see why that wouldn't work. And basically we're just using it as a spacer. So we'll put that on there, do our adjustment, and put a cotter pin in. They're all dialed. So just that, and then the dust cap was the only part of the kit didn't work out exactly how I would have liked. That being said, in the instructions, it does say you may have to grind the control arm and all sorts of funny things. So I guess when you're putting on a oversized brake onto whatever it may be, there is some miscellaneous screwing around. The Tri-5 ones I've done before, the same thing. There's little tricks you got to learn, but just take your time and carry on. Okay, so now we have our bracket L for loser. Now they're basically identical if you look at these things, but this little mount, as you can see, it's kind of shifted that way a little bit. So that does matter. Nice thing about this is it bolts on to the factory location. Have in a moment. Oh, like that. Duh. So we'll just run that in real quick. And then after, we'll put on the brake caliper. So again, these aftermarket type things, this is using the factory mounts, and all you're doing is just changing where the bracket is being held. So it's a pretty slick little kit. Again, you go on stuff like Tri-5s would have had drum brakes or something like that. It's maybe some drilling or screwing around, make it go from drum to disc. But this, all we're doing is putting on a bigger disc with different bolt pattern and a different caliper. I guess it's a little different. There we have it. Caliper's on. I skipped ahead. It's literally 2 pins, standard GM slider stuff. It's not a tutorial video, so hopefully you guys want to do that. The only thing is make sure your bleeders are pointed upwards. They will go both ways. If you put this caliper or this caliper on that side, you ain't bleeding the brakes too easy. Get it pointing down. Pretty good little kit, I gotta say. If you're doing some sort of a Mustang 2 add-on or something like that, you can't really beat it for the price. It was basically the same price, like I said, to upgrade, put all brand new stuff on versus rebuilding the old stuff, which would have been 4 lug junk. And the added benefit, if you want to be a Chevy guy with a Ford front end, 4 3/4 wheels fit right on it. So that's where we're leaving this one. Coming up next, we're going to do steering. We got to get that all dialed together. I want to fit the body, see how everything's going to go together, and carry on from there. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel and leaving a comment, hit that little thumbs up button. Doesn't cost anything, and it makes a world of difference for me, helps us grow, and helps me waste more money on hot rod parts and make these goofy videos. Thanks again. See you in the next one.